signal if someone's talking and then you can't hear them.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, we're streaming
Throughout
live on YouTube. I'm getting notice of.
Okay.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, I'm gonna open up the meeting at 6:04. Due to increase in concern surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting will remain closed to the public. There are no scheduled hearings and there will be no public input portion. Video and audio of this meeting will be aired on Comcast Local TV 9, and this meeting is being live streamed on the Town of Dayton YouTube channel. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And please remain standing. I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the flag
of the United
of the United
United
States
of the
of
United
America
States of America,
And to the republic
and to the
for which it
republic
stands, one nation,
for which it stands,
for which
Indivisible,
one nation,
with justice for all.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and justice. Oh, please remain standing.
Mr. Chairman, I request a moment of silence for the following Dayton residents who passed away since our last meeting. David Watson. David was an instrumental music teacher at Dayton Rehoboth for many, many years. Very talented individual. George Bradbury. Ann Mosier. And although he's not a resident of Dayton, Paul Brady, the brother-in-law of our executive assistant, Karen Brady. And in their memory, I request the moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So under the announcement, the town election will be held on Saturday, June 6th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The annual town meeting will be held on Monday, June 15th, 2020. The town of Dayton's food bank distribution will be held next on June 20th, located in the town hall, lower level, as a drive-through. And the ADA Commission is seeking members to the commission. If you're interested, please go to our website and fill out an application. The town administrator's reports.
I was wondering, since we have Mr. Ferry here, would the board entertain taking item 7F regarding award a bid for drainage pipe for the highway department out of order?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we take agenda item 7F out of order as requested.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Objections? The ayes have it.
So Mallory, do they have the information for this?
I do, it's part of your packet.
Okay.
I didn't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have any either. Mr. Ferry, do you want to speak on it? You're recommending the Putnam Pipe Corporation?
Yes,
Is that
the
correct?
lowest bidder. The amount of footage of pipe here is a combination of all the projects we're working on this year, the 3 sidewalk projects and the drainage upgrades that we need to do in North Dayton, all consolidated. It's wrapped up under one project as drainage upgrade out through Chapter 90. So that way there, it's easy to track also. And for some reason, when we hit that 1,000 feet, we always do very well with Putnam Pipe. As you can see, they're well over $1,000 lower than the other 2 bidders.
Yes, yes. Does the board have any questions?
No, I'm just prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we award the bid for the 1,000 feet of 12-inch drainage pipes to Putnam Pipe Corporation at 83 County Street, Taunton, Massachusetts, 02780 for the price of $5,387.20.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Good work,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Ferry.
Ferry.
Thank you very much. You all have a good night.
You as
Thank
well,
you.
sir.
Good night.
Take care.
Thank you for taking that out of order. So my administrator's report has mostly it's FYI stuff. We are ongoing with our pandemic reopening response and just our response in general. We've called back employees this current week. We have partitions in place, hand sanitizer, directives for, you saw this last time with the standard operating procedures. Everybody's been using their self-certification and we have processes in place for that. And so 2 days in, it's pretty good and everyone's been compliant wearing their masks and stuff. We are meeting again with the primetime folks on June 3rd. So that conversation continues. We're also working closely with the library. They're gonna start rolling out curbside pickup. And then they're getting a pod to store items in that would basically sit in quarantine until it's safe for us to take some shared materials in. The first week, this is more for the public's benefit, but we're all library lovers here, but the first week is really going to be addressing holds that have been in place for a while and getting materials back that have been out pre-pandemic. So she's very much opening in stages. Similar to what we did to Old Town Hall and Town Hall, we're exploring some cleaning services, increasing that. And we're just trying to figure out what might be the right number of days based upon who's going to be in the building when. We are going by this 25% rule that the governor issued that by room, 25% of that room's occupancy is the total amount of people, or usually it's a person, like one person, allowed in a room at a time. So we've been very careful about that. And so far, again, so good. We've been able to continue our operations. Still, for the
May I ask
public,
a question about the cleaning?
yes.
Just before we move on from that, regarding the cleaning of the library, I believe you were just speaking about, I thought that the board had voted to do cleaning 3 times a week. And I thought that that had applied to the library. I may have been mistaken and I apologize if I was.
No, it's actually it's an additional 3 times. So we get cleaned every day that the office is open. So Monday through Thursday, that's Town Hall and Old Town Hall. The library wasn't open at the time. So now I'm looking for Aaron Weirame, who does our cleaning services, to give me some prices, but it's going to be based upon how many people are going to be in the library. It's not going to be open to the public, and there might just be one person a day. So there's just some things that we have to figure out, but it's ongoing. I'm just trying to give you all the information that I have. You have the most, in case anybody asks you, but that is separate.
Thank you.
What about the police department? How often are they getting cleaned?
They're cleaned 3 times a week right now.
Okay.
So those SOPs you voted on exempted police, fire, and no, excuse me, that's not true. That's not true at all. Sorry. Those SOPs told the police and fire and highway, anybody who's operating on essential plans and the protocols they put in place while they were going on before the governor's order lifted, they were instructed to continue that. So they're still close to the public like the rest of us as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I just said that we are having a meeting with the primetime folks again, so that's June 3rd. And then we're gonna work continuously with the library, so I'll have more to say at our next meeting. As part of our reopening, I put together a telecommuting policy. This is here for draft form only. The policy review board is going to meet. We're going to meet in person at the Old Town Hall where we can spread out. Everyone will be in a mask. And we have 3 policies to vote on actually. But this is one that I added because of COVID-19. So I want them to take a look at it. I included it here for you if you have comments. I'm looking at June 8th to have that meeting with the policy review board. So if you have anything you want to add, share, or do anything with before it goes to them, let me know before June 8th, please.
Do you want us to let you know now?
You don't have to. I can, if
Because
you
I
want.
made a bunch of, I have a bunch of questions and then I had a bunch
Okay.
of, no, I shouldn't say a bunch, but I had some comments as well. And the only thing is, my other question was just a procedural one where the board will consider, when we do our first reading, the policy that is revised by the policy review board.
Right.
So then if we have edits, then those go back to the policy review board. Is this before them right now? Because if it's not, I was thinking we could give you our edits on this. You could incorporate that in what you give to them for the first time they see it. I think that speeds up the process, so it's not volleyballing back and forth. I could be mistaken, and I apologize. We haven't
You're not
done one of these
mistaken at all. No, so that's exactly the plan, and if I get that before June 8th, I can do that. I just
Okay.
was trying to be in the interest of time, but yeah, that's the
Yep,
plan,
no,
to get your way.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Yep.
do we all just want to, if we have any, I'll call them suggestions more. If we have any suggestions or questions, do we just want to submit them to the town administrator via email?
I'll give you my marked up
I guess I would,
copy.
That'd be great, Nancy.
I guess I would prefer that we contact the town administrator, let her know. They may be similar. We may all be on the same page, and she'll take it to the policy committee.
Sounds good. Thank you, Madam Administrator.
Absolutely, thank you. The next item on my report is about my contractual goals for the previous year. So this in your packet is an update on each of them. Because of the policy review board is not able to meet, we do have these two, outside of what we just discussed, these two other policies, I say waiting in the wings. So they just have to take a crack at it. They looked at one of them and didn't have too many changes. It was more me that I wanted to make changes based upon our discussion. It just made me think of some things. So I want them to see it, but that's a workplace violence policy. And then the other one is a code of conduct policy. And I hope that our meeting on the 8th is very productive and I can bring all of these to you at upcoming Selectmen meetings. And they're a great group to work with. Just a thank you to them for all of their assistance and what they do creating these. Do you have any questions specifically on my goals? Yes, you
Yep.
do.
I don't know if
Dr.
Mr.
C?
Chairman does.
Excuse me, just
Oh,
before we
Dr.
go
C?
to that, just before we go to that topic, is the telecommuting agreement statement part of the policy you want us to look at?
It's in your packet. It's the telecommuting, yeah, the sign off.
So it's all one package. This is one
Yeah.
package.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that works. That works.
Dr. Z?
Yes, I had a question on number 3. The policy manual. Is your idea that employees would sign an acknowledgement form when they receive one of these policy manuals, when they're distributed for that first time?
For the first time, yes. And then they also have to sign off, as you'll remember, certain acknowledgements on specific policies and versions. That was a great idea from one of you about different versions, adding different versions to that form because we changed them. But yes, I will have a record of distribution and that they've received it. Absolutely. It'll go in their personnel file. And I want to have this electronic and bound because it's a fluid document. It's never going to actually be finished because we're always going to be having different policies. So I want us to be able to edit it ongoing without, having to rip open a bound book or binder or something like that. So they'll get a copy distributed as best we can, but they will understand or be told this is a fluid document and it will change and it's your responsibility to keep updated with them. So
No, I think that's a very reasonable expectation. It's more of a living document. So I agree that
Right.
Electronic after that first distribution is the way to go. Regarding the tagging system, has the tagging system been implemented yet?
So the town accountant is going to help me, is actually one of his goals, to look into different programs so that we can compare costs similar to what we always do. The COVID-19 pandemic has put a wrench in really all of our resources. We're very much focused, the town accountant specifically, on basically what is incumbent of us. We have to audit all of our purchases related to COVID-19 and then get reimbursed for them, but they can't mix. So we have to be very careful and make sure that we're not double dipping. So he spent a lot of time with that. Then there were salaries and vacations and things like that. So I'm giving him obviously a pass here, but
Sure.
it's
I-
something we want to get done.
My questions come more from a place of like, I just want to know. I wasn't sure the way it was worded made it sound like it was already a thing. And I just wanted to make sure if it was that I, thanked you and the town
Oh,
accountant.
yeah. So
Um,
the goal is a process. And so the process has been implemented and we talked about it and
Sure.
then even got some feedback and tweaked it. So now it's actually just going forward.
No, I understand that it needs to be a product needs to be purchased. I totally understand. So for the last thing, and I promise this is my last question on this, the inventory list, it says inventory list managed, reviewed, and updated annually by department heads, including various votes of surplus. So I guess my procedural question on this is, the department heads are reporting any modifications like a purchase of something new over $200 or the surplus of something over $200 of an item to the town accountant, right?
So it's, we changed
Because
it
the
to
town accountant
$1,000. So
maintains that master list.
that's the idea. So we do this in piecemeal already, but we don't have everything we own. Like we don't have every chair. We don't, you know what I mean? Like we know I've got 25 chairs in the selectmen's meeting room, but it's not, it's in my head. It's not on the list,
Mhm.
So what we're going to do is each department is responsible for putting together all of their items over $1,000. We upped that threshold, and
Oh,
then
that's right.
we upped it. And then
Mhm.
if you get rid of those chairs, you need to write surplus. Date of vote would be whatever Board of Selectmen meeting it was, and then keep that list so that we can keep track of that, and then clean it up every year. Each
Okay.
department's supposed to submit it annually.
That
And
was my
a lot of us are doing this already with like vehicles and larger items. So now it's just adding some other stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
cleaning it
so
up.
once a year, the town accountant or the accountant's office gets these
List.
updated lists for each department from the department head, right? I just want to understand the process, that's
Right.
all.
And
Okay.
I should also say that electronic equipment, like the laptop I'm using right now, this is a town laptop.
Mhm.
It will have an asset tag, but it's obviously less than $1,000, but that will be listed regardless. So if you've got a mobile device, iPad, whatever that's paid for by the town, that regardless of cost or value is listed. There's no
Thank you.
threshold for that. The threshold is 0 for that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we voted on that. We voted to have all electronic items be cataloged. So that's correct. So I'm glad
That's right.
you're still working on that. It was one of my items that I was concerned about. So I'm glad that's progressing. I understand how the pandemic has kind of messed things up a little bit, but I appreciate the work that you've done on that and the work that you've done on all your goals. Are there any other questions about the goals?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Well, first a comment. Goal number 2, I just wanted you to know that Tom Ferry has agreed to help me with this. We have a very good policy. The situation that we're trying to deal with is under the law, there is mention of betterment, and that's a sticky issue. But we feel very good about what we've collected so far, and hopefully we can reduce in size the policy that we got. And I'm still waiting for one other one. So so Tom is helping me with number 2 also. The goal number 3. So when a new employee is hired, as part of their orientation, will they get the latest edition of the policy manual?
So my plan is that we'll have these bound copies, just have them, and they'll be in the new employee packet. And then it'll be our habit to say, this is a bound copy. I'll use this link, which we'll reference in the bound copy as well. to get up-to-date changes because it's a fluid document. And so they'll get both,
Okay.
the bound
they'll-
copy and
And they'll acknowledge in writing that they got it and hopefully read it.
right. As
Madam
part of their new hire
Administrator?
paperwork. Yes?
Yeah, it might be good to, and I think you were alluding to this, so I definitely think we're on the same page on it, but it might be good to have somewhere in the beginning or on the very first page, like a note that says, you know, please refer to this link on the website for the most updated policy versions, or, you know, something to that effect. That's all.
Sure.
But that's, you know,
And I should add, so when we go out and print the warrant for all of the residents to receive by mail, we were asking the printer for a price on this. This should have been done earlier, but because our town meeting got pushed back, we just haven't talked to him yet. But it ends up working out well because I've got extra time to get these latest policies in the bound version. So there is a cost to it, but, and I had hoped to have some information. This is pre-COVID, you know, this would all be tidied up before July 1, but, you know, it's in process. We're almost there. Home stretch, last 100 yards.
sure. Before we move on, if there are no questions, I did want to mention, just my personal opinion is you didn't need to like mention me on yours, because I feel like we're all working as a team and I feel like we all have the same goals. So just as an FYI going forward, you don't need to mention me specifically or anyone. I think it's expected that we are working together on these things. So
Yeah, and Dr. Z, you reminded me of something. When I read started through the business guide, my first thought was it shouldn't have a name on it. It should be, I'm talking about the business guide. The business guide, I don't think we ought to have names. I think the welcome should be from the Board of Selectmen, which means whichever Board of Selectmen is in office when, let's say, the new business or somebody interested in business comes to town. And so I think it's a good idea not to necessarily mention names, but I certainly think it's appropriate somewhere in it, near the front, sort of like the inside of a book that indicates this document was prepared by, Selectman Graffis or Town Administrator Aritstein with assistance by Dr. Z. I think that's appropriate. But the greeting itself, I think, should come from the Board of Selectmen.
So I actually liked Madam Administrator's welcome letter, but so I just want to be clear with the board. We're still in the editing phase, and I think the town administrator and I's intention was to bring the business guide before the Board of Selectmen, but only after we had the expertise of the, folks kind of in the trenches who really are experts on the different things like zoning and special permits that go through planning and stormwater. And once that is done, my intention is to bring it to the board. My suggestion would be to keep the town administrator's welcome letter, because in my opinion, when a business shows up at town hall, they'd probably be looking for her first or amongst the first people. But I would like the Board of Selectmen to kind of write our own welcome as well. That will be its own page, if that's okay.
Yeah, as I say, I think however we do it, I think the Board of Selectmen should be part of the welcoming committee. Let me put it that way.
Yep, absolutely. We have the welcome page on the website, so it makes sense. That's fine with me.
One other question. I've started through it. I obviously haven't gotten through it because there's a lot of it. What kind of and it says we're going to have it at a future meeting. Have you got any idea what you're looking for? Are you looking for June, July, whatever?
Business guide.
To get
Edits for the
feedback.
stormwater. Yeah. So we sent that out to the specific boards that have their sections. There are some that have already done their review, and then there's some boards that it requires, as you've just alluded to, there's a lot of stuff there for certain aspects because there's a lot of regulations around it. So we're just kind of waiting on you really, and when it's ready, we'll provide it to the selectmen. I just contractually have to give you this update. So I realize that I'm ahead of the curve a little bit, but I didn't want to be in breach of anything. So, but yes, it is waiting for, stormwater specifically and
Board
ZBA,
of Health,
Plan,
ZBA.
Board of Health. Yeah.
It is done and it will come before the board and we will all get our, kind of final input before anything gets approved or put on the website or anything like that.
Okay,
I did write a little note from what you just said, though. I took that down, Selectman Goulart.
So maybe we could all prepare some separate, like what we would like to see in a very brief, 3-paragraph welcome statement. And then at a meeting, we can all discuss what we want, our welcome
Sure.
statement to businesses to be for the business guide.
okay, and I think it's good that the selectmen, as I said, have a statement. I'm almost leaning towards writing a generic statement from the Board of Selectmen, because the board will change over the years and this guide will be periodically revised, but I think it's good if it's generic, future boards of selectmen, if they choose, can leave it the way it is, because it hopefully will be all encompassing. And
Sure.
they would have similar sentiments.
Drop
But
something up.
I'll get
Is that what
going
you were
on
looking for?
that.
So Dr. Z, is that what you were talking about, a generic statement then from the Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen?
I mean,
And I agree.
yes. Yeah, just like a welcome
Yeah.
and here's what Dayton has to
Yeah.
offer you and just things like that. That will be timeless and will be, last throughout time. So
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
The last part of my report is really, I'm using this platform to reach the public. We have worked on our hazard mitigation plan. I included in tonight's packet, I would say, like the highlights of this plan, which it really just denotes the different projects that we're looking at to prioritize over the next 5 years. Some are high cost, some are low cost. It really runs the gamut. And I'm just seeking some public input on this. I do need to submit public, that I can collect it until June 5th. And then we can forward our document in its final stages to MEMA and get that approved. But I'm basically just using this time as a shameless plug to the public. Please review it. It is available online. If you go to DaytonPortal.com, you can read the news article about it, and it provides the link to both that and the municipal vulnerability preparedness plan. So we have been hard at work to basically shore up our vulnerabilities and make sure we are stepping forward with our best foot. And we would love your feedback on it. So I'm accepting that into my email, maronstein@dayton-ma.gov. Thank you so much. That concludes my report.
Madam
Are you all
Administrator,
set
have the
with-
different stakeholders,
I'm sorry, what was that?
Selectman Goulart, you can go first. I'm sorry.
Oh, all I want to know is, are we all, you and I, are we all set on what I sent to you a while ago?
For that plan?
Yeah, you remember I marked it up, gave it
Yep,
to you? Okay.
I sent that to Jamie, and it's included in the final document that's available for public. There were some things that she tweaked a little bit to make sense for what
Okay,
she's doing, but those edits made it before this form was published.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Selectman Zagrafis, I didn't hear your question.
No, it's okay. My question was just, so did the different stakeholders, meaning town official stakeholders, already give their input and now we just want general public or concerned citizens to let us know how they think about that product, the revised product?
The core team, I mean, anybody can submit comments because it's the public. The core team did get it. I call it first crack at it. They got to review it in its very raw form. And I reviewed it one-on-one with Jamie and did a lot of the work on assigning tasks. That would be something normally done in a large meeting presence, but we weren't able to do that for obvious reasons. So then we had a core team meeting over Zoom and specifically looked at all of the projects. Tom Ferry actually was instrumental in that. He did a lot of work there. So we've had our hands on it, and then we sent it out to the public. If they think of something else, they're more than welcome to submit it, but they did review it.
And one last question, I promise, on this one. I did go I did go through the document, and what I thought was interesting is there are responsible parties. So kind of who I would think of, this issue lies with them. They're responsible for this issue. And then the partners are also involved. So for example, sometimes it's the open space committee, or I don't know, I'm making this up now. Parks and Recreation is a partner. Are the responsible parties, when the time comes to implement these things, and I'm assuming a lot of these things, some of them are already implemented, but for the things that aren't, are they going to reach out to those partners and get the ball rolling on that? How's that going to work for the different projects?
So we are not stuck with this timetable. Like if something says we're going to do it in June of 2023, we don't have to do it in June of 2023, but we have to make an effort to get at least some of these things done over the next 5 years. And if we haven't, we have to tell them why. So anything going on in FY21, we're going to say COVID-19. We weren't able to get to this because we were focused on all of this other stuff. There are some things that are cost prohibitive in certain times. So you just make mention of that. As we formulate this plan and we approach it in real time, it's my job essentially to say, okay, I bring it to you guys, we prioritize that year's plan projects, and then we reach out to the departments that would be in charge of that. So for example, there's an evacuation plan we need to do. That doesn't take mountains, that can be our staff. There's also, fixing Pleasant Street Bridge. Well, we're not going to be able to do that. We have to go out for that. So we are going to just go forward and approach it in this plan. It's prioritized. Everything's high because we're a coastal community, but we will, and as Selectman Goulart said this in the CRB meeting, she said a lot of this is underway. So as you said, we're already kind of approaching it. We're already working on these things, and these different departments and boards know that this is coming. They know that this is a project they need to do just because we all agreed these are projects that need to be done. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, my concern is always just how
Thank
the
you.
information is going to trickle down to the different
Well, there's
partners.
one for the Agricultural
So,
Commission.
okay, well that sounds good.
Yeah, there's one for the Agricultural Commission, and they might not generally get that memo. So it's on me to let them know that.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good, Madam
I would just
Administrator. I trust you with this one.
I would just comment to the general public. This is something anyone living in town could take a look at. I think if you just initially scan the by 1, 2, 3, the descriptions of what follows, it covers everything from climate to flooding along the Taunton River, flooding from extreme rain, as Mrs. Aaronstein said, agriculture, trees, the town forest. I think to the general public, if you go through this, you're going to see something that says, gee, I wonder if that means. And that's a good place to send in a comment by number 7 or number 8, whatever. Do you mean such and such? Or another one would be a comment, are you aware that when it really rains hard, this happens? So we do want public input, and folks, this is not going to be over your head, and you're going to have an opportunity to actually provide some feedback about things right in your own neighborhood that's not necessarily known by other people in town.
Correct. Also, one last thing. You writing it on Facebook may not be the best way to get public comment to us. So definitely you want to send our town administrator an email. We don't want to miss anything. It's an important document. It's a lasting document. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Z, is that your last comment? Okay. No, you said your previous comment was your last comment. So, thank you very much. Thank everybody for the input on this. And thank you, Mrs. Goulart, for speaking about it to the public, trying to get their input. The next agenda item, thank you, Madam Administrator, for your report. Old business, discuss vacation carryover request. Do you have any additional information on that? We discussed it at our last meeting and we took a vote on this.
Yes, I just want to give an update, and I know Selectman Goulart has some comments, so I'll just quickly say we've been receiving, based upon I sent out a memo asking people to let us know what they wanted to do about their vacation. so that we could get our arms around the financial costs and obligations before us. So I sent that memo out. I haven't received any questions or anything, but I have been receiving information back from departments telling me who's doing what with how much. So we do have some people taking their time between now and the end of the year. That's come back. We have people requesting to carry over, as is their right. And then we have people doing everything, and we have people requesting the money to be paid out. So I'm keeping a spreadsheet of that, and it will be before you again, because we'll have to be transferring money to take care of all of this. But mostly this is on here. Selectman Goulart had shared a comment, so I wanted her to have the ability to speak at a meeting about it.
No, I'm just glad you're getting responses. Do they have a deadline when they have to get back to you so we can meet the deadline for a BOS agenda?
Right. So I have scheduled in my mind that I'd like all budget transfers to come before you on June 10th, which would give the Finance Committee the opportunity to vote as well right before town meeting, as they normally do. And I will be sending out a reminder email, with a hard and fast date. Right now, I had just said as soon as possible so I can get my arms around this. But I will be coming up with a hard and fast date. I've heard from most departments. There's one large one that I'm waiting on, which will be like the real kicker. That's when we need to know. But most of the large departments have provided that. So by June 10th, which is our next Selectmen's meeting, they need to be in, and you'll be voting on them.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next item is to rescind the vote on May 13, 2020 regarding Miller's Lane order for taking. And why are we doing this? Why are
Well,
we
what happened
rescinding that?
was, it's a procedural thing. When we did the Berkeley-Dighton Bridge, we did everything ahead of time, so forth and so on, did the order of taking and got the street, Center Street accepted as it was currently laid out. We did it in one big swoop, got it all done. And that was fine because we were within the 30 days required to record the order of taking once it's voted by the board. So when I got the order of taking, it looked okay until I looked at the date of the town meeting, which got moved. And the town meeting is beyond 30 days. And you've got to accept the street in order to do the order of taking to get it recorded. So Attorney Costa said the best thing to do was rescind the vote on the order of taking, and we will vote that order of taking closer to or right at the time that the town meeting is going to have it before them to vote to accept Miller's Lane. So it was a timing thing.
Okay,
So should we do it
so
on
we
June
should,
10th?
I will entertain a motion to rescind the vote, but yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Can we
Okay,
put it on
Mr.
for June
Chairman,
10th for the agenda?
What's the date? Well, what do we think the date is for
Yeah.
town meeting?
June 15th.
It's June 15th.
June 15th.
And then the next meeting after that will be,
The next Selectmen's
Oh.
meeting after that?
yeah,
Sorry, let me just
24th?
get this.
24th,
June
Selectman
24th.
Goulart.
my thought is we should do it on the 24th, because if anything happens that town meeting, I hate to say it, doesn't take place on the 16th. If we have to
15th.
move it towards the end of June, we're still going to be okay on the 24th.
What if we have it, so are you able to take this vote at town meeting before the Board of Selectmen take the vote?
Well,
is
it would
the
be
town-
better, actually, if we take the vote, let the town meeting vote to accept it, and this Board of Selectmen vote to do it the same night after the townspeople vote. Like we could post a meeting for that night, and the chairman can declare a recess. Then we go to town meeting and get all that put behind us. Town meeting adjourns. Our chairman calls us back to order, and we vote the order of taking, and then it's almost like what we did with the Berkeley Dighton Bridge. We'll put it all together in a package, and we got 30 days to record it from the date of acceptance.
I can do that. We can prepare for that.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to rescind the vote on May 13th, 2020, meeting on Miller's Lane, order of taking.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we rescind the vote of May 13th, 2020 on acceptance of, on the vote, the order of taking for the Miller's Lane project.
Second.
There a second? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. And we'll put this on the agenda for the meeting of June 15th. New business, close, I will entertain a motion to close the special town meeting warrant.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah, I
we
said
said
I
so
moved
moved,
it.
So who
Mr. Chairman.
made that motion?
I did
I
too,
made a
but I'll
motion to
second
move
it.
So who seconded that motion?
Brad, Dr. Z.
All those, any discussion? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstention? The ayes have it. Is there a little delay in my talking?
It's
I have a
everyone,
delay
it's not just
too.
you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm wondering if it
What's
has
that,
to do
please?
with the streaming. It's all of us, and I'm wondering if it has to do with the streaming. I'm gonna ask Jonathan Gray what his experience was.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to approve the articles. Has everybody seen the articles, the warrants for the special town meeting of June 15th?
Yes,
Were there any questions about those? Were there any questions about those warrants?
I had none, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have any.
I have a question.
Yes,
My
Madam
question is
Administrator.
my question is relative to proposed Article 4. My recommendation is that is not on, for that not to be on the town meeting floor, and for that to be handled through budget transfers by a vote of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee like we normally handle them. Town meeting has no employment positioning other than funding salaries and such, so it would be a very terrible precedent to set this. So that's on there for discussion because I didn't know where you wanted to go with this, so I thought I'd put that on there, but I am steadfast in this. I think it should be handled with transfers. And if anybody had questions on the animal control article, I just want to say that's there again to reappropriate money already set aside
Correct.
because we were specific in the car type. The other article there about funding that settlement, literally a box was left out of an Excel formula and we did not appropriate this amount of money to one firefighter. So we have to go back and fix it because it's technically a prior year bill. So that is in summary what those articles are.
So when I said I had no questions, I apologize because I thought that Article 4 was on there because that was how you wanted it to be on there. So I apologize
Yeah.
for that. And
No,
I
that's-
agree with you. I think that we probably should not include that.
Yeah, I agree too. I'm gonna make a motion that we strike Article 4 from this warrant as it's currently worded, and Article 5 becomes Article 4.
Second.
there a second? Any discussion?
Second.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it.
Okay. Do you
So how
want to,
How do we sign? We have to go to the town hall and sign the warrant?
the annual one has been ready for a little while, and then this one will be in your same signature stuff. We need you to come before June 1st. Yes, before June 1st.
So the annual warrant is already there. I signed that on the weekend, and I believe, just so you both know, I left it in the black bin near Leanne's desk that says not completed to be signed.
Oh, okay. I don't think I signed it. I'll look for it tomorrow.
Leanne definitely has it because I took a copy of it today. So she has it.
Okay.
Do you, I know we have the recommendations for the town meeting warrant articles. Do you want to do the special town meeting warrant articles first so we can just move on from that part?
Do we not act on B? I can't recall if we vote to allow us to sign it. Or
Oh,
like
I'm
to
sorry.
approve.
I'm
I
sorry.
can't-
Yep,
I'm
you vote
sorry.
to
No,
sign it.
I may be making this up. I can't recall. I apologize.
You should vote to sign
Oh,
it.
that's right. So far, all we've
Okay.
done is revise it by taking out the current wording on 4 and renumbering. So,
5 is 4.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board vote to approve and sign the warrant for the special town meeting as revised.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Do we want to vote on these articles now, whether we're recommending them or not? Was that what you were asking for, Town Administrator? Yep.
It is, yep.
Okay, so I have no objections to any of the articles that are before us. Does anybody have?
Mr.
I would
Chairman.
recommend, yep. Dr.
No,
Z.
I'm listening to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of these warrants, and I would ask that the Board of Selectmen make a motion to recommend these to the town residents.
Mr.
This is
Chairman, both
special.
the annual and the special, or just, do you want to do them separately?
That's the
Yeah, we're
special.
gonna do it separately. We're doing
Okay.
the specials, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel the same way about the special.
Mr. Chairman, I
I'll
move,
entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board
Yes.
vote to recommend Articles 2 and 3 as presented on the special town meeting warrant for June 15th, 2020.
Is there a second?
1 second. I lost my place. I apologize. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. We're gonna go through the warrants for the annual town meeting. Now, I don't know if you want to go through the articles regarding the money individually. If I could just make a comment regarding that. As you know, this was discussed at the Finance Committee meeting. I had recommended that we not give 10 hours to the administrative assistant, that we give her 4 hours. It was recommended by the Finance Committee to give her 10 hours. I'm okay with that at the moment, given the whole situation. And also, I had asked that the ADA coordinator, that when I originally spoke about the $2,000, that was for 8 months, not a year. I asked that it be $3,000. That was not also recommended by the Finance Committee, and I'm going to accept that at the moment. I realize we're in a financial constraints, and so as far as their recommendation regarding the money, not the particular articles about different items, but the money themselves, I'm in favor of. So I'll listen to the other board members.
I feel
Anybody
the
have any
same-
comments on the? Yes.
On the finances,
What was that?
I feel the same way you do about the finances, Mr. Chairman. The
I do too.
financial articles, I should say.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion that we not, again, go through the first part of the warrant, which is all of the financial budget items, and
Mhm.
that we start with Article 6 on page 10, and so that way we can let the public know what those articles are for, and we can put our recommendation on them.
Should we vote on our recommendations for the other articles, though? Should we make a recommendation regarding The other articles, Article 3, for example, the money 4 and 5. That the Board of Selectmen has the recommendation that they be approved. That we go along with the recommendations of the Finance Committee. Am I?
Well, my thought is with all the finance committee meetings and stuff we had, and since we just agreed at consensus on the statement that the statement regarding the 2 accounts that you mentioned, that's like saying we recommend what's on this warrant. That was my
As
only.
long as, okay. As long as it's understood that we're recommending them. Yep. So you want to start with, Mrs. Goulart, you want to start with Article 6 then?
Article 6.
So Article 6 says the chief of town will pursue Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as most recently amended, establish fiscal year limitations on expenditures from the revolving funds established by the town of Dayton bylaws, department revolving funds, which with such limitations for fiscal year 21 as follows. From the revolving fund, the limit would be for the trustees of the Dayton Public Library for copying, fax, and printing services, $5,000, and the trustees of the Dayton Public Library. Fines and monies collected for overdue, lost, or damaged materials, $8,000. And the Council on Aging Board fees, charges, and receipts for services rendered by prime time, $150,000. Is there any questions on that article?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote to approve Article 6 as presented.
Is it approve or we vote to
there a
recommend
second?
this article like the finance committee does?
Recommend. You have to just recommend
We're
these
voting
to town
to
meeting.
recommend. Because we,
Okay, then
yeah, we
I'll
can't
just
approve it.
strike the
We
word
can only
approve and we'll
recommend.
say vote to recommend Article 6 as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. I don't think, we don't need to recommend anything on Article.
No.
No, 7.
Procedural.
C,
Yep.
So is 8.
8, 9.
9 is important.
Article-
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote to recommend Article 9, which is relative to Chapter 90 funds from the state for FY21, known as the transportation bond issue in the amount of $302,441.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it.
Okay,
The next
10,
money article is 14. If you're only doing money.
What's that, please?
I said the
Yep,
next
14.
money article is 14. These other ones are I call them our annuals. The ones that.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board recommend Article 14, which concerns the community preservation projects for FY21 as presented, which includes $5,000 for administrative expenses from reserves, $12,500 for historic resources, $12,500 for community housing reserve, $12,500 open space, and $62,500 budget reserve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. Article 15. I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 15. This is to see if the town will vote to appropriate $110,000 from Community Preservation Fund, balance reserve for community housing, and $26,281 from the Community Preservation Fund reserve under designated fund, balance for a total not to exceed $136,281 to be expended by the Community Preservation Commission for the installation of the electrical main panel replacement, 8 building site housing authority, Lincoln Village, 300 Lincoln Avenue, North Lake, National. Take any action relative thereof. The Finance Committee recommends. I'll
Mr.
entertain a
Chairman,
motion.
I move that Mr. Chairman, I move that the board vote to recommend Article 15 as presented.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Second.
If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I thought we already had a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Aye.
Article 16.
There's definitely.
I'll entertain a motion on Article 16.
Mr. Chairman.
Can I actually make a
Mr. Chairman.
suggestion? I'm sorry.
Yes. Madam Administrator.
I'm sorry. So there's considerable delay. So I'm wondering if we could go through and do like, if you want to do it in groupings, like by page or all together. The public can follow along because we do have these posted as our packet. It's really hard to hear all of you.
It's hard to participate.
Yeah, like I think there's just a delay. I think it has something to do with the streaming because usually we're working just fine. So I can read through them, and if anyone has a hold, I'll mark it. I'm writing this down. Do you want to do it that way or?
That's the way we've been doing it.
I think that would be good because we keep breaking up and getting out
Yeah.
Well, we
monosyllables.
we end up all talking at the same time because we all hear the silence and that's the delay, and then we'll all start talking at the exact same time.
Well, it was funny because Ken's like, Selectman Pacheco was like, I thought we already seconded it, but you, I had already heard the vote.
Oh, me too.
Okay, so this will be a fun meeting to watch back on. Okay, so Article 16 is $17,003.49, which is actually a transfer from a previous article already authorized to purchase a mower. So it's not new money, it's repurposing, reallocating money already put aside in an article. Article 17 is $200,000 out of the capital stabilization account. The Finance Committee recommended $150,000. This will be the town's match for the Briggs Street Culvert Construction Project. I have 2 grants in the works. This is Plan C and will be returned if one of our grants doesn't work out. But I do need to be able to have these funds together.
Can I ask a question about this?
I'm
one
in
to the
favor.
board?
There is a delay.
Ken?
My question is, yes, the Finance Committee recommends a transfer of $150,000, and this article is for $200,000. I'm in favor of what the Finance Committee is recommending at this time because they reviewed all the finances, and I'd be interested to hear what the other board members have on that article, how they feel.
So I actually feel the same way you did. I think I feel comfortable on this one to go with the Finance Committee's recommendation. My philosophy on this one was that I was just happy that we all seem to agree that this should be funded, even if it was like a 75% funding instead of 100% match. So I agree with your thoughts on this, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to suggest that if we can all see one another, I think so. Maybe it would be good if the chairman can see it. If we want to comment, instead of, because of this delay, we put our hand up and then he can call on us. Does that work for you, Mr.
Well,
Chairman? Okay, so.
Yes, but let me just, can I say one thing though? Occasionally, my screen is freezing. So all of you are frozen, and you may have your hand up, and I may not see it. So
That's true.
that's only going to add more confusion to this whole thing. But I agree, Mrs. Goulart.
If one of us has a hand up and it looks like you're not, it looks like you're frozen too, then it will be Mr. Chairman, because I think you can hear voice even if the screen's frozen.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Delay.
So I have a question for the town administrator. Mrs. Aaronstein, is the 200,000 in the article what we have to have for matching funds? And it's my understanding, if we get funding for this, whatever we'll spend the grant money first, and we'll spend some of this for the culvert, and the rest would be going back to stabilization. Is that correct?
It's a little confusing. I have 2 grant applications out. One's through the state DER, one is with the Nature Conservancy, and that's a federal grant. The federal grant requires a match. It can be town funds, but it can also be state funds. So my hope is that we get the TNC grant, the federal grant, we use the DER funds as our match. That's the hope. And it's a great project. It fits these grant applications perfectly. The total cost is 400,000, and that's what I've requested out of both grants. The whole kit and caboodle, I'd like 400,000. So then we have this article, which is like a back plan, a plan B. It's a backup. If I don't get the DER funds because of the state finances right now, then I can use these funds, the 150,000, which I'm comfortable with 150,000 to do this. I can use that as our match. And we can also use in-kind matches for the federal funds. So if Tom Ferry puts up some man hours or something. So we're in a very good spot. It's just everything is due at different times, so I can't be sure. If I get the grants, this money will go right back into stabilization. It won't ever be touched. So I'm just earmarking I'm requesting to earmark 150,000 until about December, when we find out if we've received this grant or not.
Okay, so my main concern was 150,000 will allow you to allow you, Mr. Ferry, allow the town to do this project. Again,
as long
we're anticipating grant money.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I support the 150 also.
Thank you.
So should we vote on this article because we're disagreeing with the main article, and it's the Finance Committee's recommendation that we're supporting? Should we vote on that now, or do you want to?
Nope. All you can say is that if you make a motion on this, that you recommend 150,000 from capital stabilization, just like the Finance Committee did. It's written right here. You can do the same thing.
Yeah. I think I always stop now because of the delay, just to make sure I'm the only one talking. I think if we're going to take the Finance Committee's recommendation, then maybe we could just word it exactly going forward, exactly how it is here, if we're on the same page with them.
Okay. So do you want to do,
Mr. Chairman?
Mrs. Goulart? Yes.
Since we've also got to act on 16, and this is the first one we've had a question on. Did we vote on to recommend 15? We
Yeah.
did, I believe.
Yeah, yes, we did. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote to recommend Article 16 as presented, and Article 17, we recommend $150,000 transfer from stabilization. And we're in agreement with the Finance Committee recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? The ayes have it. Article 18, you want to continue, Madam Administrator?
Yep. Article 18 is $60,000 for the fire chief who got the deal of a century. It is a ladder truck. It's a 1999. It is used, but we are never going to get a deal like that again. Article 19 is also from the fire department. It is to purchase an electric vehicle in the amount of $37,000. The fire chief did receive a grant for $7,500. So we wouldn't pay the full cost of it. It's a partnership with a grant. Article 20 is $8,500 to be expended by the police chief for a radar trailer and related accessories. This is to help our speed problem throughout town. Article 21 is $124,000. Oh, go ahead.
Now, could we, on 19 and 20, the finance committee's recommended that we take it from free cash. So do we leave the article the way it is, or do we specifically say that we're recommending that it comes from free cash?
I think we should agree with the finance committee and use their language on those.
Same with 18, they're saying raise and appropriate.
Right.
So I would just say, as like a rule, if we all agree to this rule, if you differ in if you don't support the article, or if you differ in the finance option they've selected, then we hold it. But if not, I'm gonna assume that you agree with their funding. I mean, you were all there with their meetings, so I would assume that you agree with their funding.
Yes, okay.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
are we gonna just have the town administrator go through these, and then we'll come to one where we don't agree with, and then we'll do them as a block? How are we doing this? I'm sorry.
I thought you were gonna tell me to hold it, and then you would take one big group of all that weren't held.
Okay, we're on the same page.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Article 21 is, so the police department's requesting 2 vehicles. The finance committee broke this out into paying for one through raise and appropriate and one through free cash. So it's 2 vehicles, but we generally raise and appropriate a cruiser every year. There's just one extra one, and he's proposing to, or they're proposing to pay for it out of free cash. And the amounts are related there. They do not add up to 124,000. I do know this. That's correct. And that's
Is it, Madam Administrator?
yes.
It's less than 124,000?
So when
Yes.
I got the breakdown, when I got the breakdown per cruiser, what's not included here is like a patrol rifle or a medical bag. So it's related accessories. The finance committee took their vote. I'm not going to ask them to revote. They can purchase the medical bag or the patrol rifle through operating expenses and outfit the cruiser would be okay. Article 22 is a request for a road sweeper, a street sweeper. The finance committee recommended transferring $55,000 from capital stabilization to serve as a 5-year lease to purchase. And then if that's approved, the $55,000 will roll over into the operating budget for subsequent years. Article 23 is $165,000 to be expended by the board for town hall upgrades. This is for many of our spatial issues that we have and some needs that we have to serve. So the finance committee recommended raising the appropriating $75,000 with the understanding that we would be back at the fall to kind of give an update on our progress and what was left to do and show the town what we could do with $75,000.
Madam Administrator?
Yes.
So I just wanted to highlight the fact that this is to provide additional office space where, because I'm not sure everyone watches the finance committee meetings. Old Town Hall renovation was part 1. Part 2, and I know we're in, a difficult, we're in the middle of a public health emergency, and I get that. But space is now more important than ever. And so that central space where the the treasurer collector's offices and the clerks is a bit of a concern to me, given everything, social distancing and everything. So I'm really happy that the finance committee agreed to partially fund this with the intention of coming back and showing people not only what we did, but delineating what we need to do in order to finish it, hopefully at the fall town meeting. So I just want to thank them as well, and then explain what exactly it is for.
Thank you.
The next article is $10,500 to be expended by the planning board for a plan copier. Finance committee recommended free cash. Article 25, we alluded to earlier, that is the Miller's Lane lands taking. It's not a money article. Actually, that's it for the money articles.
Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so I'm going back to Article 18. Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend Article 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 as presented and with the funding as outlined in the warrant.
Is that okay,
So-
Madam Administrator? My concern is it wasn't always as presented. Sometimes Finance Committee recommended something different. So can we just clear that up by saying as the Finance Committee recommends?
I'm sorry, that's what I thought Selectman Goulart meant, but yes, that's fine.
Mrs. Goulart, is that your recommendation? Is that your motion?
Yeah, when I say as presented,
Mhm.
we didn't have any major disagreements, so
Yep.
so I'm looking at this as we all agreed these are all okay, and we're in sync with the Finance Committee.
Yes.
Second, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Okay?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it.
The next
We've already-
That concludes the money articles. The next one is about Miller's Lane, which we alluded to previously. I'm assuming you guys recommend this. Selectman Gullart's worked very hard on this. And it's rectifying some issues from 1953, so that's good. Article 26 is our other post-employment benefits liability trust fund. This is about re-adopting and accepting provisions. We found that we needed to accept this language relative to our OPEB account. It is not spending. This article doesn't spend any money on OPEB. It's accepting provisions. Article 27 is regarding the Soil Conservation Board. We've discussed this previously at a meeting, changing kind of how we provide that oversight as a town. So this is the draft that has been developed. We have some other things going on with this. I don't know if now's the time to talk about it.
Well, I do think we need to talk about
Yeah.
it because we need to be on the same page. So I do understand Selectman Goulart didn't support this. However, we had a conversation with, and this is more for my two colleagues, Mr. Pacheco and Mrs. Goulart. We had a conversation with Mr. Rhines, who's the chairman of the planning board now. And in just the course of doing the business guide, it came to my attention, and Selectman Pacheco, you probably recall this actually. There are actually already earth removal guidelines, I guess you would call them, within the zoning bylaws already on the books. They're not as quote unquote beefed up as what the soil conservation regulations are. But in the course of our conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Administrator, I guess what we had decided was not to have any motion on this or not to approve this. I don't think we should personally make a motion on this. And what I think we should do is allow the planning board over the next few months before the special town meeting, I think this is what we had decided on, to come up with additional language to add to the earth removal bylaws that are already part of the zoning bylaws. And what this would mean is at a future town meeting, we would probably have to, in addition to approve those beefed up zoning bylaws, if that's the way the planning board chooses to go, we would need to rescind, or I don't know the correct wording here, Madam Administrator, but that current Soil Conservation Commission bylaw would need to be repealed, I guess would be the right word.
Right. Right.
And so the only thing, so I know it's very complicated and I understand that, but stay with me just a second longer. Basically, after that, the only thing that would be on the books in terms of mining, removal, etc., would be the zoning bylaws, and that would be enforced by the Zoning Board of Appeals, which it already is.
I think you hit
So-
on
Mrs. Goulart,
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is what I was looking for. I had said I thought we should not act on this and that there were I felt there were conflicts. And this way, by not having a motion on this, the planning board's going to look at it. We're going to bring it in compliance with zoning board. And also, it's going to give us an opportunity to look at stormwater regs, because remember, I had said the stormwater committee wasn't around, so we had a soil board. And so thank you very much. I totally agree. And the other thing I will say is I talked to the chairman of the Conservation Commission, and he said absolutely not, that they would not be involved with this because, quite frankly, they have enough problems even enforcing their own Concom orders or permits or whatever. So I just say thank you. I agree.
So it's not, I just want to be, and I don't want to have another, we already had like a lengthy, we've talked about soil more than we ever needed to in a lifetime, but, so I don't want to get into the specifics, but I guess my point is, we didn't know the last conversation we had about this. No one had done a deep dive into all the different things that are already on the books. And that kind of just happened organically in different projects that we were working on. But I also want to say, when something is clear, I think we need to pay attention to that. And so I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel on this. I think there's already things on the books with the zoning board, zoning bylaws. It sounds like conversations will happen over the next few months with the different stakeholders in terms of ways to change or add on or take out language governing mining and earth removal under those zoning bylaws. So I just want to thank everyone's patience. It was definitely a learning process, but we heard everything everyone had to say, and I think we're doing it the right way here.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with what Dr. Z said, and I will point out that with the final product, which will be, I assume, probably amended and some additional wording in the zoning bylaws, will be enforced by the zoning enforcement officer.
Correct.
Mr. Aguirre, who sits on the stormwater committee. So we should be able to pull this all together very nicely.
Yep. And just to piggyback off that, Selectman Goulart, that was actually part of the reason that we wanted to have that meeting, was because it became clear that Mr. Aguirre, in his capacity as the building commissioner, was the log viewer, or for the one permit that we had in town. And so he would still be involved in that process, but under the guise as the zoning enforcement officer, which I think personally actually gives him more authority in terms of like actual legal authority. So I think this is the way to go. And I just want to thank everyone for being patient and, being open, and we got it figured out, it sounds like. So.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Thank you,
we're not
Mr.
gonna,
Rhines.
so we're not gonna take, yes. So it's Article 26 and Article 27. We're not gonna take any action on it. Correct?
No, 26.
26 is okay.
26 is good. So you need to vote on 25, 26. You have no issue.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry. It's Article 27 then, correct?
Yes. And so my recommendation to Selectman Goulart, to Selectman Zagrafis on this was not to table it at town meeting, but to move to take no action at this time, because we're going to come back with it.
Okay.
It's just, this isn't what we need. So I just request that you don't move to table this.
I was never going to move to table. I couldn't recall the exact wording, and I apologize. We should probably write that phrase down.
I did write it down.
I wasn't sure if it was a no motion or if it was we were going to make just a very brief remark and tell people we'll be back in the fall.
I'm going to look it up right now because I have my note right here.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What we usually do, if there's an article that it's understood, we don't want a motion on it, we usually tell the moderator ahead of time, there will be no motion on article, and we give them the number. They still call, he or she will still call Article 27. And hopefully there is no motion. And if there is a motion in a second, then we'll explain why we're saying that, we're working on revisions, and this is not really what we want people to adopt.
Sounds good, Selectman Goulart.
So are you accepting motions then for the other ones?
26, Selectman Goulart,
Well,
the only other one.
25 as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote to recommend Article 25 and Article 26 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. Do you want to go over the wording for Article 27, Madam Administrator, or you want to hold off on that and give it to us?
I can, just so, you know, transparency for the public, move to reconsider this item at the fall town meeting. That way they know there's more coming, I guess.
No, a reconsider is a vote that's already been taken. You're not going to reconsider it because I'm going to suggest, Mr. Chairman, I move that there be no motion on Article 27.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think Selectman Goulart was finished. My apologies. Second.
Discussion? If not, well, I guess I'm a little confused then. So we're not going to do anything at all with Article 27, Mrs. Goulart? Is that your intention?
Well, as I say, ahead of the meeting, we would notify the moderator
Yes.
that there will be no recommendation on Article 27 because it would have been a board member that made it and seconded it, all right?
No motion, you mean? I'm
Right,
sorry.
correct. Now, if somebody, and the moderator says, the moderator is still going to say, is there a motion on Article 27? If somebody from the floor makes the motion and gets it seconded under discussion, we will explain why we are recommending that this not be voted. But hopefully by saying there is, he or she calls for the motion, there is no motion, and there might be a second call for a motion on Article 27. If there is no motion, we move to 28 and that's it. There's no discussion or anything.
And I also want to point out, if there's no motion, which is what we hope happens, and then we go to the fall, this article, that article will not appear again. It will be a revised zoning bylaw. So I think we're good on this one.
I do too. I agree.
Okay, so on this motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. Article 28.
This is a bylaw revision as well, general bylaw revision. Sorry. We're opening up this weekend, so it's on my mind. Okay, so regarding the capital outlay committee, right now it is a member of one because there's only one seat filled and we haven't had any other volunteers serve in quite some time. I wrote this with Robert Rendon. And so I'm presenting this here for the town to vote on to change how we have our capital outlay committee and the idea so that we can plan 5 years out, plan financing, and have a coordinated response on capital projects as part of our budget process. That's this one. And Article 29.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I paused, but not long enough.
No, you paused too long, which told me we were not within the delay.
So that's
I didn't see a hand, but
I like Article 28. I guess my comment would be, do we want like a non-voting liaison, or maybe, I don't know, Madam Administrator? I feel like, because the Board of Selectmen has adopted our own 5-year plan, and I feel like we need to have a continuity with the Capital Outlay Committee. I don't know if one of us can sit in on the meeting and then report back. I don't know how it should all work, but I think we need to be in on that. We need to be part of that.
So when you're doing your goals and your plan, if something was ready, like this is just an example, but the fuel depot, if we were ready, the Board of Selectmen, you guys as a unit would submit to the Capital Outlay Committee that you wanted to purchase a fuel depot, and they would vote on it. So you, just by virtue of the process, would be able to put your 5-year plan in there. I don't know how to make these changes now in the bylaw this late, because, I mean, this is your recommendation stage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
No, I understand the logistics. I get it.
Mr. Chairman?
Mrs. Goulart,
Yeah, I think we ought to go with what's printed here. We're expanding the committee, and in the course of this committee being formed, there needs to be additional sections or edits to this document. We can bring it to the next appropriate meeting, but I think we ought to move ahead with it the way it is on the warrant.
Yep.
I agree. Do we want to vote on that now, or do we want to continue?
No, I don't want to hold this at all. I'm just thinking like for continuity down the road.
Okay, but this is a big one, so I will make a motion that we recommend the Capital Outlay Committee article as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
The
The
next
next article.
these are our zoning bylaw proposals. The public hearing will take place through the planning board, and it will be a virtual meeting. And we've started to solicit public response through those means. So people interested, just keep posted. So this first one is I'm sorry. I thought it was the kennel bylaw. This one is the Route 44 Business District. The planning board is trying to expand where businesses can go because of how that is set up. They want to expand the footage there. So that's Article 29. Article 30 is the kennel bylaw. This came before a town meeting last year. There were some questions. We've answered the questions. Now it's back, and I hope it passes. Article 31.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure it got to the point of voting last time. Are we sure this is in its like ready to go final form? Because it's been like, this is the third time it's been on a warrant, I think. And I know it has nothing to do with us, so I'm just.
This is what was submitted. So this is what would have been advertised in the newspaper for that public hearing for the planning board.
Did the Board of Health consult with the planning board on this? Do you know what their process was on this one?
I believe Stacy Ferry, the animal control officer, had a lot more involvement on this one.
Yep.
And addressed some of those concerns that were open-ended.
I apologize. We can move on. I only asked because it is a zoning bylaw, so I know that the planning board would have to vote on this and approve it to get it on the warrant. So I just wanted to make sure we had the input of the people we rely on in terms of their expertise on this. So, okay, sounds good.
And then Article 31 is a acceptance of state law, acceptance of a provision in the Mass General Law. This is also related to our speed control, our plan and addressing the speed issues. So this is so accepting this, if town meeting favorably votes on this, accepting this allows us to establish designated safety zones. And that means those particular areas, the speed limit would drop down to 20 miles an hour. We've talked about this previously, that not all areas rise to this. This doesn't fit all, but this allows us to do it in some areas and allows us to explore all of our options. Article 30.
Administrator?
Yes.
So this one, just to be clear, this is for my colleagues as well. This just grants us, if it's approved, the authority to have those discussions on what zones we would think about. This doesn't designate any specific area. correct?
Right, right. This
Okay.
is like, when you're like step I before
Sure.
1,
Sure.
So this is a baby step.
Okay.
Article 32 is the select board versus Board of Selectmen discussion that came up at the last town meeting, and here it is again. We were told to bring it to annual, and so you did. And that is the end of the warrant.
Okay, Mr.
Yeah, so-
Chairman?
Can I just speak on the last article,
Well, I was
regarding the select board? Yes,
gonna make a
it doesn't
motion
mean,
that we vote on 30 and 31 and have separate discussion on 32.
okay, have we voted on 29 already? Did we vote on 29?
I don't have a note on
No.
29. That is the business district.
Oh, I see, yeah,
No, but I
29,
think it's a fabulous idea.
31, that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking at. Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, yeah,
I move that we vote to recommend Articles 29, 30, and 31 as presented.
Second.
any further discussion? If
No, I
not,
just want to.
All those,
I want to.
yep. Raise your hand, Mr. Dr.
We
Z.
were both playing chicken there. I just wanted to thank the planning board for thinking ahead on Article 29. I think that's a really good idea.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. Article 32, if I could just, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Administrator, this is just, if this passes at the annual town meeting, this goes to the legislature, and they will give us, the town, permission to take another vote on this, whether or not we want to change the Board of Selectmen to the Select Board. Is that correct? We're not, by voting on this, all this means is we're asking the legislature to allow the town to take an actual vote as to how they, in which direction they want to go. I thought that's my reading of it.
Oh,
That's
that's
my
not my it is? Oh, mine was, it's a home rule petition, so once it passes, it's our law, because we don't have a charter.
No, I thought, correct, I understand that, Madam Administrator, but I believe, and if you're watching at home, Madam Clerk, do not throw anything at the TV. But I thought the town clerk had told us that first step was the home rule charter and second step was the vote, like at an annual town election.
That's
Oh,
my
yeah.
understanding.
This says, because you're right, because section 2 is.
That's why that's not on here,
Yeah.
because that's the second step. This,
Yeah.
doesn't even get to that point. Am I correct, Madam Administrator, on that? Okay. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. No, Mrs. Goulart, you wanted to speak on this?
Yeah, the procedure that you're talking about, that's my understanding also, that it goes to the home rule petition, but then there's actually a ballot vote, because had the non-binding referendum been positive at when we brought this up the last time, we would have voted then on this kind of article. The non-binding was defeated. The moderator said, you've still got to act on this. This one got tabled, so it didn't go any further. But I think the whole process was, so now it's coming before us again. If it passes, it goes to the legislature, then it comes back for a ballot vote, because I think the plan had been to put it on the annual election ballot, so we wouldn't have to have a special election.
That's my understanding also.
Okay.
So I will entertain a motion on this Article 32.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we recommend Article 32 as presented.
Is there a second?
Only
I
if you
will step down. I didn't catch that.
I said only if you step down and second
Yes.
it.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm going to step down and second the motion. Any further discussion on this motion? If not,
I
yes,
still
Mr.
don't
Goulart.
support it. So other than that,
I was kind of hoping, Mrs. Goulart, that you would take some time and think about it, but that's okay. I respect your opinion.
actually,
Oh,
it's at this point because of what I insisted way back when. First, it was the non-binding, And then it was this particular thing that when the town clerk told us that this was the process. So it's here anyhow because of what I insisted on. I didn't support it when I said we ought to have a non-binding referendum, but I said I supported the fact that you really supported it and we should give it to the voters. So I'm going to vote no, but what I had said initially is being carried out as far as giving them another shot.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Abstention, the ayes have it. That completes these articles, I believe.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Goulart.
I make a motion that we vote to approve the warrant for the annual town meeting as previously discussed.
No, I think we already did that and we were just doing the recommend. Am I wrong, Madam Administrator?
Well, we changed it. We're leaving, there's a motion in here that we had originally approved, and tonight we're saying we don't want a motion on that one. We're not removing it. So we've made it, we've sort of reversed position on Article 27. So that's why I'm saying if we now vote to approve it as presented this evening, that will incorporate that particular article that we're hoping there will be no motion on. That's all I'm saying. That's the only real change we made.
I will accept that motion. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstention, the ayes have it.
Before we move on to off of town meeting stuff, I just wanted to make sure that you all received my email of a letter from town council. I didn't ask for this letter. He proactively gave it to us based upon some other communities asking about town meeting. Essentially, legislative bodies have fallen into a little loophole of the 10-person limit. So I'm prepared to explore an outdoor town meeting. I'm also prepared to explore an indoor town meeting and like rope off certain rows and do all sorts of things. Does anybody have an opinion? Like, which do you want me to focus on? Anything at all?
All options, anything you can think of for this meeting to come off.
Okay.
I think we should do all options because even though, our normal amount of folks that show up is anywhere from 80 to 120, and that would be fine in like the high school auditorium. But like, I don't know, what if 400 people show up? The high school auditorium wouldn't be
Wouldn't be suitable.
sufficient for social distancing.
So we're gonna go forward and post for our original meeting room, which was the high school at the high school, the auditorium at the high school. We're posting on June 1st. The election is June 2nd. Once we get a moderator, the moderator will be able to delay for a period of 30 days, every 30 days as much as we need to. Sorry.
I was like, who is that?
Totally, yes. Say hi. So we can delay every 30 days once we have a moderator. So I'm going to go forward with posting an indoor meeting.
Mrs. Goulart.
Yeah, could I get a copy of that letter? Because I haven't seen it. The other thing I would suggest is there any way we can post the meeting for the regional high school and not name the room? In other words, if
Have it open.
coming out of our ears and the gym is a better option, or the football field, or we might have to rent a big tent. I'm just trying to keep
I think we have to be specific as to where it's going to be.
Right, but that's why the moderator is able to extend it and change and we just need a moderator. So we need the election to happen.
Is anybody running? Does anybody know on stickers or anything?
I do believe there are, well, there's two people that have expressed interest. I think it's Scott Dingus and I'm going to butcher this last name, Nick
Voss.
Voss. Nick
Mhm.
Vaz. That's just interest, I've heard. I don't know about like an actual sticker campaign. I don't know anything like that. But
No,
those
I
people
don't
have
think
expressed.
anything's official, Selectman Goulart. Nothing's
Well-
official. I think there's just interest.
One other thought, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody who may be interested in run on stickers. If it comes down to us having to appoint a moderator,
Mhm.
I would just keep in mind that our former moderator is back in town, back at his home in Dayton. And if we have to appoint, he might be a possible. That's all I can think of.
Thank you, Selectman
I-
Goulart.
I will forward you that email, Selectman Goulart. I'll let
Okay,
you
thank
see it.
you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is to appoint a designee to the Joint Transportation Planning Group. Now, this is not the group that we just appointed Robert Woods to, is it? No.
No, it's different.
This
This is Tom Ferry. He serves in this role. I'm the alternate. And it's very important to have somebody present because we follow tip projects, which can last 5 years. And so you want to have a squeaky wheel. And that's what this role is.
I actually have
Okay,
a question about that.
Dr. Z, you have a question? Okay.
Yeah, is someone volunteering for this, or has someone been recommended by some board, committee, or commission?
It is Tom Ferry.
Oh, it's
He's
still,
been-
I'm sorry. I was confused because usually the name is on the art, like as it's written on the, so I apologize. Okay, that's why I had that question.
I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Tom Ferry to the Joint Transportation Planning Group as a municipal representative of the town of Dayton for the period from May 23rd, 2020 through May 23rd, 2021.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. The next item is to appoint Adele College to the Council on Aging Board. I'll read the letter. To the Board of Selectmen from Alice Souza, Executive Director of the Dayton Council on Aging. As of our Council on Aging Board meeting held May 13, 2020, it was unanimously voted to recommend Adele College, 238 Andrew Street, North Dayton, Mass, replacing Council of Aging Board member Mrs. Gloria Johnson was moved out of town. I didn't realize she moved out of town. Based on her qualifications and experience, the board feels she would be an asset to the Council on Aging. We look forward to the Selectmen's appointment based on this recommendation. If you have any questions, get in touch with me. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Adele Collard to the Council on Aging to fulfill the remaining term of Mrs. Gloria Johnson.
second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it.
Can I ask one procedural question? Because I know how it works with appointments, but with elected members, I'm not sure how it works. Don't you have to submit a letter to the town clerk, or is that only if you're resigning? Like when you move, like how would we know unless the person told us?
So everyone is supposed to submit a letter of resignation to the town clerk. Usually people comply. A lot of people don't know that rule. Usually people comply, but sometimes, I mean, they're just gone. You know, they've moved out.
worries.
they're-
Okay. Okay. Just making sure.
We always ask.
yeah, and I think
Thank you.
technically, if the town clerk finds out that an elected official has moved out of town, they notify the board and they can just be, the position can be declared vacant. Because the minute they move out of town, even if they don't notify the clerk, they can't serve anymore.
Correct. Yeah. In their elected capacity.
Okay. Did we vote on that? We voted on that already, right?
Yeah.
Did we vote on it?
Yes.
No?
I don't
Yes,
think
we
we
did.
voted. Okay. Maybe we did.
Yeah, we did.
I thought we did. The next item is to discuss potential canceling of previous permitted gatherings on town property. Mrs.
Sorry.
All right.
I requested that this be on here because I'm looking for a solid vote from you. I have the calendar. Leanne gave me the calendar. There's only one. I'm assuming Bristol County Agricultural High School has canceled their graduation, their in-person graduation, or at least postponed it. Is that everyone else's understanding?
I don't know.
I haven't
So
heard
they-
anything. We would have heard
So
something.
I think so too. It's supposed to be tomorrow, so I'm assuming we would all have been advised to go. So aside from that, there's one event on the calendar that's been previously permitted and allowed. It's on June 27th. I'm not looking for a vote right now. If you want to mull it over, if we want to wait until the 10th and get a little bit more information and handle on how phase 1 of reopening has gone. But this, I just need you to weigh in on a vote, I guess, or tell me when to schedule it for a vote.
May I ask a question about the event?
Yes.
I feel like I can't vote. What, are you allowed to tell us what is the event?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's my fault. It's the cruise night. It just says 4 p.m. cruise nights. It's on a Saturday. I'm just verifying. That's the only event that's on there. It's because it's drawing a crowd. Like, we need to make sure, I just want us to talk to the organizers. People have to be in masks. We can't be serving food. We can't be serving shared anything. I know that people don't touch the cars because they're antiques and the owners don't want you to touch their cars. I get that. I just want to make sure that there's rules established, signage, appropriate signage, and that these organizers are doing all they can do to make sure that the event is working safely.
I don't know how
Okay.
my colleagues feel, but, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, this is the Taunton Vietnam Veterans fundraiser, I believe. They do normally serve food, so maybe we need some clarification from Tony as to what their plans are given COVID-19. They do have a bunch of cars there. They do have entertainment. They have dancing. People bring their own chairs. So I think we just need a little bit more information on this, and maybe we can vote on this on the 10th, our next meeting.
May I ask a question about that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Are you wondering if Mr. Rosario has already made different like changes in the normal routine for this event that we may not be aware of already?
Yes, that would be my concern, that he may have already made
Okay,
changes.
that's
Mrs.
fair.
Goulart, okay, Mrs. Goulart, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I think we should have the town administrator contact Mr. Rosario, find out if there's been any change or modifications to the plans, advise him that the board will have this as an agenda item on June 10th. And if it looks like there's a possibility that the governor's directives may become further, more liberal, we would again consider this on June the 24th for a final vote. But it's got to be with the understanding Mr. Rosario has to be ready if it goes to the 24th of June, that he may have to have in all his plans in place and or be ready to cancel. And as far as the other two he's got scheduled, we'll just have to take them a month at a time based on what the governor sends out for directives. I want to be as accommodating to him as I can, but I hear the concern that Mrs. Aaronstein's expressing, and their fundraising part, I believe, is food. They might want to consider going to a raffle or something. At least you don't eat it, but you can raise money. But yeah, I think we got to cover all the bases.
I agree. So can we put this on the agenda for?
Yes.
Yes, Mrs. Harris.
Yeah, sorry. I will put it on the agenda for you, but in the meantime, I'm going to work with the health agent. I know he's been out working with different businesses, so I'm sure he has picked up some new ideas that other groups are doing. And I think we'll be able to sort something out. I appreciate you hearing it.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is to discuss the request by the fire chief requesting support of education incentives. He has written a letter to us. I am writing this letter requesting your support of firefighter/paramedic John Gauthier in his pursuit of an associate degree in fire science from Bristol Community College. If there are any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me anytime. Now, the additional paperwork that we received on that, who is that supposed to be for?
So
Yeah,
there,
that had
I
to be
don't,
an accident.
there was an issue here. So there's actually two requests. There's one to approve John Gauthier, and your approval kicks in his ability to get reimbursed once he's finished and completed with a satisfactory grade. So that's request one. The second request is to process the payment for Alex Green for his tuition. The documentation you see is proof that he paid it, proof that he completed it satisfactory, and he's just continuing in his program. It wasn't clear how much it was. It's $1,441.50, and that would be the reimbursement for Alex. And then the other request is approval for John Gauthier to qualify, I guess, for the tuition reimbursement.
Use the reimbursement program. Okay. Are you entertaining motions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, so it would be two separate motions, yes.
My
Dr.
first
Yep.
motion is, excuse me, my first motion, Mr. Chairman, is to approve the request. Yes, approve the fire chief's request to allow firefighter paramedic John Gauthier to use the tuition reimbursement program. Do you like how I ended that almost as a question?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention? The ayes have it. We're getting pretty good. We're able to synchronize our votes now. There's a little hesitation. We wait, then we vote. I'll entertain a second motion on Alex Green.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion and I hope that the total is correct. That's not part of the motion. My motion is to approve the reimbursement of $141.50 to Alex Green.
$1,441.50.
Where is that
Yeah.
figure?
Yeah, it's not there. I had to call the fire chief. Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I rescind that motion. I'm going to make a new one, Mr. Chairman. My new motion is to approve the reimbursement of tuition-related expenses for Alexander Green for a total of, Madam Administrator?
$1,441.50.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention? The ayes have it. The next agenda item is, yes, Mrs. Goulart, yes.
First motion on John Gauthier. What was there money attached? Because now I'm confused.
No.
You're approving him to be part of the tuition reimbursement program. So the first step is notice to you that he's
Yeah.
doing this.
And
Okay.
now he's part of all those guidelines that, we set forth, conditions, I should say, in order to get that reimbursement.
Okay, do we have $2,000 in the FY21 budget?
I think it's 4. I can double check, actually. I've got the
It's
warrant right
4.
I remember 4 was the discussion and I
4.
couldn't remember if it got cut.
No, it didn't
they
end up
did
getting
it.
cut, as I recall.
We should raise our hands. It is 4,000? Okay. Mrs. Goulart, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure going into the new fiscal year for us, but the school year, especially if they're going to take courses during the summer and, like his continuing ed, that the money is there for them to continue.
Thank you. The next agenda item is the Selectmen's report. We'll start with Dr. Z.
So unfortunately, I didn't actually get to go to the library virtual legislation day as I had a work meeting that went over, but I did go to the Mass Selectmen's Association virtual meeting that they had either last week or the week before. And I missed the first 15 minutes, which apparently was probably when they went over everything that was pertinent to leadership in the pandemic. The part that I came into was mostly a discussion centered around different logistical concerns with the open meeting law and having to meet remotely most of the time now. There were a lot of questions, like different random questions, but most of it was just outlining like the different issues that we as towns have had to tackle due to the open meeting law. So I wish I had, which we probably are all apprised of right now because we have to deal with them every time we schedule a meeting. So that's all I have on that.
Yeah, that meeting, was that the KP law? Was it Lauren? I think her last name. Yes.
Yes.
I also was part of that, and you explained it very well. It was on the open meeting law. There were several questions, but I think we've been pretty well on top of everything regarding that. Mrs. Goulart, you had a report?
Yeah, as of today, I think I got 4, so I'm going to make this quick. Stormwater Committee met on the 20th of May, and the main topic covered was we reached a consensus agreement with on Strawberry Fields, meaning that we had sent a letter to the ZBA asking them to deny all of the waiver requests from the developer relative to stormwater. The consensus we reached was that the Stormwater Committee will draft a letter stating that it will agree to allow the Conservation Commission to be the, I'll call it supervising organization, as far as they will issue order of conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Stormwater Committee agrees that we will accept that. And the developer said they would also agree to that. And so the ZBA doesn't have to, in effect, deny or allow those waivers, because we're going to give the letter that's going to be signed by both the developer and the Stormwater Committee to the ZBA and say, here is what we have arranged as far as how to deal with all those stormwater issues. And we also said that there will be members of the Stormwater Committee who will have oversight in their respective areas of expertise during the construction of this development, if in fact it gets approved by everybody and it's going to go forward. And that there would be no more than 2 people from the Stormwater Committee involved with these inspections at any given time, because 3 makes a quorum, so we can't have 3 anyhow. So I'm in the process of drafting that wording, get it out to our committee, get it to revise it, do whatever is necessary, and send it off to the attorney, Chris D'Agostino. And so that's what we're presenting as a solution to all of the waivers they requested, and our response was deny everything. So we think this is the better way to go, and the ZBA will be able to act on this letter without a lot of individual discussion on all of those items. I also attended a meeting of the DR School Committee earlier last night, and the budget discussion centered around the uncertainty of school aid, Chapter 70. There will be a meeting on June the 2nd with, I believe it's the chairman of the Rehoboth FinCom and the liaison from the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Costello, meeting with school officials to see if they can come up with a number. I have not heard anything about what kind of budget number Rehoboth feels it can provide as far as support goes. And then the other thing was, excuse me, the meeting date, the meeting date with those officials is actually tomorrow night, Thursday, the 28th of May. The June 2nd is going to be a special DR school committee meeting to talk about budget. And the superintendent and business manager were instructed by the committee to come up with a couple of worst case scenarios. If school aid is cut by 5%, what is that going to look like? If school aid is cut by 10%, what is that going to look like? And obviously they have to get this information and decide what they're going to do, because there's a June 15th deadline for notifying people if they're going to be laid off. So that's what the school committee is working on. And I heard some numbers mentioned. Dr. Azar said that they, had met with Mrs. Aaronstein and Mr. Schwartz and some Dayton reps to the school committee. But the number I heard mentioned is not the number that's on our warrant. It was higher. And so I did not get into the discussion. We had an extensive discussion at our finance committee meeting. And as I said, what's on our warrant was less than the number I heard last night. But since they're going to be meeting with Rehoboth, and we don't know at this point what Rehoboth feels it can support, I just figured it was better to just leave it alone and we'll wait and see what happens. The other
Selectman
meeting
Goulart?
was, yep.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Yep.
Do you know, did you hear if Rehoboth had set a town meeting date yet? Did they say,
No,
did that
the
come up
best of
last night? Okay.
Best of my knowledge, they haven't set a date. I'm not even sure when their election is.
I think it's sometime in June, I thought, but I could be
I
mistaken.
think, I think it's June 30th, the
I was
election.
just gonna say, has anybody heard a June 30th date? So,
I remember they did it very, very late, and I remember talking to Sue about it, because ours was not pushed back that late. At the time, it was gonna be in May.
okay. An unusual thing, we had an MMA meeting today, and the reason we had this special meeting is because at our last regular meeting, the Conservation Law Foundation and one other organization wanted the MMA committee to support some letters they wanted to send to DEP, and I said, no, without seeing the wording in the letters, I would not support that. I'm very uncomfortable as a representative, an elected representative, to having us agree to something to support it without seeing the wording. Not everybody on the committee is an elected official, and I don't think they understand the ramifications. Fortunately, there are 3 of us that were present at this meeting, both meetings, that are selectmen. And so I guess maybe we're more cautious about jumping on bandwagons and saying, our town supports such and such. Anyhow, we'll be talking about this some more. One deals with solid waste and trying to get the governor to relax the ban and doing away with those one-use plastic shopping bags, to reinstitute collecting the deposits, paying the deposits on being able to return bottles like soda and beer and whatever else has that. Another one deals with requiring solid waste disposal companies. Those we contract with to take our recyclables. The feeling is the costs just keep going up and up and up, and we really are not getting any kind of regular reporting on why is this going up and up and up, and quite frankly, to those who are recycling this, what's your income on this? We're paying more to get rid of it, but you must be having income come in. So we want those numbers to see if in fact the kind of rates we're paying to dispose of solid waste could be somehow lowered, or could we somehow share in the income they're getting from selling this stuff. So it was pretty much left that Ariella our contact at MMA is going to draft some language. We didn't vote to sign on to any of these initiatives, the way these letters were written. I was uncomfortable with pressuring the governor into the plastic bag battle. I think the governor has moved cautiously based on Department of Public Health and CDC. And I think when the time's appropriate, he will say, you can start recycling your soda bottles and beer cans, and we're going to put a gradual ban back on those plastic bags, and you can start using your own bags or paper, whatever. And I did say to them, those of you who are elected officials, rather than have MMA or this committee sign on to some of these things that we're uncomfortable with, if you take them back to your own board, ask your own board if they would be willing to support it and send a letter. I'm not at that stage in asking our board to do this. I will give you copies of the letters. The only one thing I can think of that I was strongly opposed to, there was reference to incineration in one of these documents, and it was left hanging. And my point was, I am very concerned when they talk about phasing out single-use plastics and incineration. I said, do they mean incinerators? Because there's a whole group of people in the state who want to eliminate incinerators. And my response was, well, you better think about Southeastern Mass, simply because most of us are tied into CMass, and that's how we do dispose of our trash, including those plastic bags. So I will give you copies of this stuff that I got from MMA, but I'm not asking our board to do anything at this point.
Is that
I
it,
have
Mr.
one last thing. Can I read just an update on the
Dr.
open?
Z, yes.
I'm sorry, there is a delay. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick.
Okay, Dr. Z.
On the open, on the open space and recreation plan, we reviewed section 9. We had a meeting either last week or the week before, which were the action plans on the draft. These involve areas such as investing more in our recreational spaces, such as parks, making our open and recreational spaces ADA compliant, and developing a town-owned land inventory map, which denotes open space and recreational spaces as different zoning districts, if you will. The next step for us as a committee is to sort of marry the different actions to the previous goals and objections we have. So we're calling it an action plan map. We're going to put all the sections together and then have a comprehensive review before we present this to the relevant stakeholding departments. And so our next meeting is June 16th. So we'll have more to come on that.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Goulart?
I have two other pieces of correspondence that I will share with the board. At the ZBA meeting last night, they referenced two letters from the Concom, February 10th of this year and May 26th. I would say that especially May 26th is strongly worded, and I will give you copies of those just for your own information. Obviously, the Stormwater Committee is concerned because if this consensus letter is created and agreed to, the Concom is going to play a major role, and certainly the Stormwater Committee will take into consideration the feelings of the Concom. So I will get these letters to you. I sent them out to the committee today, but I think it's important that for informational purposes, you know the position Concom has taken relative to certain issues relative to Strawberry Fields.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So we have no correspondence and we have no acknowledgements.
I think we
Minutes?
have correspondence, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have any.
So did we want to read the email we got about the house on Forest Street, or do we want to wait till June 10th on that? It's
I
just
think we ought to wait because Mr. Aguirre is away. I think he's due back next week, and if he hasn't gotten that letter yet or that email, he's going to have to weigh in on that.
I have no issue waiting.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept for review the minutes of the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting of May 13, 2020.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting of April 22nd, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, before I make that motion, do you know if changes were made? Were those changes, were you able to see them? I'm doing this before we make the motion because usually you ask that.
Yes, but Karen's not here, so I didn't want to ask that question.
Okay.
Do we know if there's been any changes?
I don't know of
Does
any major
anybody-
changes, but I don't have those minutes.
I
in front
didn't
of me
make any.
either.
I didn't make any. That's all I can say.
April
Yeah.
22nd.
I don't. Yes, April 22nd.
I'm not sure. I didn't see any changes made by the board, but that doesn't mean anything. Karen.
Why don't we table this one until we have a chance to check?
Motion to
Okay.
table.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Approval of the warrants.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. May 20th, 47A, in the amount of $96,724.69 payroll. 47B, in the amount of $211,266.47C, in the amount of $4,806.57, the last two being accounts payable, be approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that warrant dated May 27th, 2020 be approved as follows. Warrant 48A in the amount of $104,168.38. Warrant 48B in the amount of $22,024.87, both being payroll. And I don't have a number for 48C. So I would ask that 48C dated May 27th be on our next agenda. It hadn't been totally finished by the time this email was sent to me. But I do have 48D in the amount of $1,317,847.50. Accounts payable, Dayton Rehoboth, be approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. We will not be returning to our regular meeting at the end of the executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we enter executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
Is
Second.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Roll call. Aye.
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 We're going into executive session. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Cable.
Good night, Cable.